everybody, it's Taylor, and today I am starting work on a really exciting sewing project, which is this beautiful 1903 to 1907 dress. This is in the book Costume in Detail by Nancy Bradfield, and if you're not familiar with this book, it's one of my absolute favorite historical costuming books. I reference it all the time, and it's also one of the very first costuming books I ever bought. So I have been looking at this dress for like 10 years at least, and dreaming about the day that I can make it, and today that day is finally happening. This is going to be what I'm going to call my White Sands dress, after White Sands Hotel in Anne of Green Gables, which is one of my favorite books, and I've always wanted one of these frilly, frothy Edwardian gowns. So today I'm going to start. Now, I don't have a pattern for this dress, and there's not really one in this book. It's just kind of, you know, diagrams of what it looks like. So I'm going to have to kind of Frankenstein an idea together. And what I'm going to use as the base of my pattern for the skirt, at least, is another dress that's in another excellent costuming book, which is Patterns of Fashion by Janet Arnold. And that is this 1903 to 1902 dress. And its corresponding gridded pattern. Now, the reason that I really think this one's going to work well is because the skirts on this dress are a little unusual in that they're totally smooth across the back. So there's no pleating or gathering or anything like that to get the fit. So it's got to have a smooth back thing, which is achieved by the shaping of the pattern pieces. In the original dress, it looks like the skirt is achieved using one front panel, two side panels, and two rear panels for a total of 5 panels in the skirt. And in the Pattern of Fashion book, the skirt has got 7 panels. So I'm actually going to combine the front 2 panels into one so that I have one larger front panel, 2 side panels, and 2 back panels. So that's what I'm going to go for. I'm actually going to start out this project by making a petticoat to go with it. This is going to allow me to fit the pattern itself so that I'm not actually experimenting on my fashion fabric, and creating a petticoat that's specially made to go with this dress so I retain that smoothness that we get to the back of the dress. So step number 1 is trying to translate this gridded pattern from Janet Arnold into an actual pattern that's human sized that I can use for my skirt. I've never done this before. This is a new sewing experiment for me, so hopefully it won't be too difficult for me to achieve, and I'll actually be able to do this. But it is going to require some math, which I hate and I'm very intimidated by, so oh boy.
The first thing I want to do is to trace off the pattern from Patterns of Fashion so I can write in my own measurements. I'm combining the 2 front panels of the pattern together so that I can have one larger front panel. I'm also just eyeballing a bit of an extension on this pattern so I will have a train. But this is just really for my own visualization, and I don't actually use this little extension in the pattern that I draw out. I also need to take measurements for this pattern, which I'm taking over my corset, a small bustle pad in the rear, and an under petticoat. These are the items I'm planning on wearing under my dress, and since fit is really critical with this style, I want to make sure to be as accurate as possible. I also took measurements from my waist to the floor on the front, the sides, and the back, so I know how long the pieces need to be.
Okay, so if my waist measurement is 32, and I need to translate this across 5 total panels, I want to have the front panel be a little bit less than half of my waist measurement, and then the back 2 panels will each comprise the rest of my waist measurement. This doesn't make sense because I'm actually not 5 and I'm forced to draft everything as 1/2 and then just double it. So I hope that I'm not confusing everybody too much, especially not me. Alright, because I'm bad at math and I don't want to mess up, so I'm going to use my calculator. Alright, 32 divided by 2 is 16, which means I need to make the front panel 16 in total. No, I'm doing this all wrong. Ugh. Okay. God damn it, this is complicated. How do I do this math? I'm going to start this over. I'm gonna say my waist measurement is 16 inches because I want to do 3 panels. So the front half is going to be 8 and the second half is going to be 8. So each one of the second pieces are going to be 4 inches. Each of the back pieces will be 4 inches in the waistband and the front piece will be 8 inches. So in total that'll be 16 on each side, which is a total of 32 inches, which is my waist measurement. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense.
Now I'm just writing in all these different measurements so I can convert this pattern to being human-sized. I'm drawing out these patterns in actual size. The squares on the paper are 1 inch each, so it makes for super easy measuring. I'm just eyeballing the various curves that need to be added in, like at the waistline and the bottom of the skirts for a little bit of flair. I cut out a full front panel and one each of the side and back panels to test the fit. Because this material is somewhere between paper and fabric, you can just pin the pieces together and try them on. This stuff is actual sewing magic. Okay, so the fit test is pretty decent. I had to nip in a bit at the front waist because of my hip spring, and I also realized I need to add another inch or so to the back to fit over the rear curve, but this pattern was good enough to start cutting out the real fabric as far as I was concerned. My actual petticoat fabric is cotton organdy, which is a really lovely fabric. It is sheer and light, but it's woven with really stiff thread, so it has a tremendous amount of body, even when it's been washed. This is a perfect fabric for giving volume to petticoats. And it also makes for an excellent cat trap. I laid the pattern pieces right onto this fabric and added 3 inches to the bottom so I could have a very deep hem. Once the pieces were cut out, I just pinned everything together so I could try it on. This fit test was pretty good, but I realized it was a bit snug in the hips, which is why it is pulling below my corset line and you can sort of see that nip in. But I had enough seam allowance here to fix that problem as long as I sewed it with narrow 1/4 inch seams. I was really happy with the overall line and look that this gave. Then I just sewed everything together.
Alright, so this is all sewn up now. I just did it with French hems, except for the back seam, which I just have pinned closed to do a last test. Putting really narrow hems on this helped to smooth it out so it's not too tight here anymore, which is good. I still think that on the real skirt, I'll probably add just a little bit more to that back seam. So on the petticoat, I'm gonna have it close in the back, but on the actual skirt, on my dress, it'll close on this side seam here. So I'm pretty happy with this. It has a nice smooth line to it. It's still super long, as you can see. My next step is going to be to undo the back, and then I'm gonna hem the skirt with a double turn of 1.5 inches each, which should give me a nice stiff sort of bulky hem to give it a little bit more volume along the skirts. And then I need to add a ruffle, and then I'm going to do a waistband, and then it'll be all done and I can start on the actual petticoat itself.
I'm making my ruffles the easy way. On my machine, if I set the tension high and the stitch length long, I can let my machine do the ruffling for me. This is kind of a cheat, but I definitely love it. I pinned the ruffle on, and then for both a decorative element and to finish the top cleanly, I added a lace border. This is just some cotton insertion lace that I used as a border by turning under both the raw edges and then sewing it down both sides with a zigzag stitch. I'm so happy with how this petticoat turned out. Made up in cotton organdy, it makes for a perfect undergarment for a light, frothy Edwardian gown. My next step is now to get started on the skirts of this dress, so please subscribe and follow along to see the next part in this series.
Liza, stop doing that. Stop, Liza. No, stop it. She's eating tape. Why are you doing that?